And here's the last part of this section of the chapter, last part of 6.3. We've got three sections. We've got 5 and 6. Over on the next page, we've got 7. All of them say the same thing. They say solve the equation by any method. So you're going to have to choose which method to use. Remember, if you can get the equation to say 0 equals some stuff, you might be able to factor. Depends on what all the variables are. If you can get it to x and whatever other stuff goes with it, squared equals, well then maybe you'll be, well for sure you'll be able to use the square root property. And maybe you need to use a little help there completing the squares. But if all else fails, you can use the quadratic formula. So the question is, can you easily turn it into this format and see if you can factor, or that format and see if you can square root it? Otherwise you're going to go with the quadratic formula. So let's try some of these. Let's try them from section 5 for starters. Should we try the hard one first? Let's try this really hard one here. So this one is a big mess to try and write out, so I'll write it out quickly. X squared plus 1 over x squared plus 4 x squared plus 1 over x minus 12 equals 0. So that looks really challenging. That looks very, very challenging. But one of the things that you may, what did I just do here? It doesn't belong there. One of the things that you might not notice is that this stuff here, which I'm going to outline in blue, is that stuff squared plus 4 times that stuff minus 12 equals 0. So if that stuff there, instead of calling it x squared plus 1 over x, I'm just going to call it b, just for the heck of it. B squared plus 4b minus 12 equals 0. We'll just do that. We'll circle it just to remember it. Okay. I just picked b randomly, by the way. Now, so if that's the case, b squared plus 4b minus 12, you know what? I can factor that. I can factor that because I can go b plus 6b minus 2. And that actually factors. Equals 0. So b can equal negative 6 and b can equal 2. Now, here's where it gets complicated. Let's turn this back into that big mess here. So that means that x squared plus 1 over x equals negative 6, or x squared plus 1 over x equals 2. So let's solve the two of these here. Multiply both sides by 6, I get x squared plus 1 equals negative 6x. Move the 6x over to this side, I get x squared plus 6x plus 1 equals 0. And over here, I get, multiply both sides by x, I get x squared plus 1 equals 2x. Move that over here, x squared minus 2x plus 1 equals 0. So this one is x minus 1. That's a perfect square. And that means if I square root it, the square root of this, so x minus 1 equals 0. If we square root both sides, x minus 1 equals 0, x equals 1. And up here, to finish this, can I factor this? I don't think I can. I can't. So I'm going to complete the square on this, and then I'm going to use the square root formula. So x squared plus 6 would like to have something else. I'm going to subtract the 1 from both sides. Okay? So, what am I going to do in here? I think it's going to be, whoops, that's a 6x. It's 3, so 3 squared is 9, so plus 9 plus 9. And so x plus 3 squared equals 8. And so if we take the square root of both of these, that's a positive number, remember, right? So we take the square root of that and the square root of that, plus or minus, then x plus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of 8, which equals plus or minus 2 root 2. So we subtract 3 from both sides, and x equals negative 3 plus or minus 2 root 2. So that's one set of solutions and that's the other. That was complicated.